and yet to be resolved death of its ICT manager, Chris Musando, just 6 days to the election. On the big question tonight, we speak to Commissioner Roslyn Akombe on the levels of IEBC preparedness for next week's poll. Talk to us. The hashtag is a big question, and text us on 22422. Do you think IEBC is prepared for the polls? Thank you, Commissioner, for making time for us tonight. First, condolences to IEBC and to the family, of course, and friends of the late Chris Musando, and family and friends of Marian Ngumbu. So there have been concerns after his death over the level of preparedness, or more specifically, what hole Chris has left in as far as the system is concerned. To what extent do you think the system will suffer?
Let me maybe start by reiterating the condolences from the IEBC to the family, to Eva, the children, Alvin, Maria and others. And we know their pain, and as we've said before to them, we are a family and we'll continue engaging with them and work with them through the arrangements that we'll be making in the next few days. In terms of the gap that Chris has left, I mean, obviously it's a huge gap, because Chris is one of the few people you had who was a team player, one of the very few ICT people that communicates very clearly, that was able to, you know, explain to us in detail every process that they were doing in a layman's language, without throwing in words or the lingo from technology that can throw you off. And I think, you know, that is something that we will obviously miss, in terms of having that person that I can come with here on Citizen and showcase how the KIMS technology works and measures that we are putting in place. But I think, you know, it's 6 days to election. So a lot of the work that needed to be done to get us a credible election had been done by Chris and the team. And so that gives us a level of confidence that there were no gaps in terms of technology that had been left out. As you know, we were going to be doing a simulation yesterday, which we deferred to do tomorrow. And I mean, that is indication really that we were there in terms of the aspects that we needed to have preparation for. And we have a remaining team and a remaining ICT team that really does a very good has a very good understanding of their work, and will be working with us throughout. Well, there have been those concerns have been there, including the opposition, which now says foreign ICT experts should come in and run the ICT department and help run the system. How do you respond to that as IEBC? I mean, I think Chairman Chebukati has responded to that very clearly, that we have every confidence in the team that we have in place. You know, we are a country that is leading in terms of technology in the continent. I mean, we are the people who started M-Pesa. We are the ones who have Makiba. I mean, so if you look at the level of you know, awareness that we have and knowledge that we have as a country, I think we are beyond seeking international assistance for that one. I mean, I have worked in countries where I could have easily said, yes, it is time to get international assistance as relates to ICT, but we are not there. We have the knowledge, we have the capacity within the Commission, and as I said, a lot of the work had been done by Chris and his team, and so what we are doing is just implementing. So either way, late Chris was very instrumental in this. Yes. There's no doubt about that. And these are the concerns that we can't speculate as to why he was murdered. But some say, or some believe, or some speculate that it could be related to the security of the system. So is IEBC concerned, or can IEBC ascertain that that may not have been the reason, and therefore the system may have been compromised in one way or another? You know, I mean, the chairman has been very clear. This was a murder. This was a brutal murder. This was a situation in which our staff was tortured. And but in terms of the security of our systems, we've been able to quickly make an assessment of the system. It has not yet been violated. And as we have said, we had put a lot of security measures in place. And there were no passwords that had been given to any of our staff yet. And so we are not, you know, we do not feel at this point, we don't believe that at this point there is nothing that was taken away from Chris that would compromise the security of our systems. You don't believe, but you cannot be sure. I mean, let me refresh that. And Chairman Chebukati put this very well. We're very confident that our security systems will not be compromised as a result of anything that was done to Chris. And the reason why we're very confident is that there are no passwords that he had that other people don't have within the commission.
Right.
So this was not, you know, it was not a situation in which you had only one individual that had access to certain sort of information. He was a face, obviously, of the commission in terms of communicating the technology and communicating how the technology works. But he's not, it was not a situation in which he had a certain password that only him had.
But he had a lot of information about the system either way.
Obviously, as somebody who has been working on it, he did have that.
I don't want to sound cynical and waste a lot of time on this, but you are confident, still hoping that didn't happen, isn't it?
No, I'm saying
or is there any audit you can do to prove that nothing has happened?
We have already checked. We have already done an audit trail to check the systems and how they work. If this had happened maybe at a point whereby some critical passwords had already been given to the staff, then I would have said we are hoping that that didn't happen. But because we know that there are no passwords that have been provided that would compromise our system, that's why we are confident that whatever information may have been picked from Chris is not of a nature that would compromise our systems.
Chris was their manager. Before that, there was James Muhati, who the commission had suspended. But then James Muhati was reinstated. Before Muhati was Dismas Ogondi, who was also sacked. A position that is seemingly quite controversial. Why would you say so? Why is this really happening in this position of ICT? What has been going on?
I mean, look, our election is an election that is based on technology now, not by choice, but by law. And, you know, those are very critical functions anywhere, not just with the IEBC, but in many other places. And so, I mean, I cannot speculate why, you know, why what happened to Chris happened to Chris, or what happened to the others happened.
But Muhati was suspended by the commission.
But he's back to the commission.
But there was a reason why he was suspended.
There was a reason for which he was suspended.
Did it have anything to do with the systems?
It didn't have anything to do with the security of the systems per se, or compromising the security of the systems. It was, as you saw from our statement at the time when we issued it, it was non-cooperation with an audit report. And afterwards, we had an audit done while he was away, and we were confident after we got the audit report that whatever needed to be done had been done. So I don't, you know, I cannot talk about the previous,
you were not there
because I wasn't there, but on those two cases, that's really what I can say.
So it had nothing to do with the system as far as Muhati is concerned? No,
it was not about the system. It was more auditing.
Okay. You'll be testing the electronic results transmission system tomorrow. Do you feel, first of all, is there a possibility, this has been asked, but it's good to keep getting an assurance from IEBC of what will happen, is there a possibility of reverting to the manual system if the electronic system fails? Do you anticipate that? And what happens? By electronic system, I mean specifically identification of voters and the transmission.
I think we've done pretty well in terms of the identification of voters. We are confident that in terms of identification of voters, we've done very well. We have tested it on many occasions, and we used the biometric identification system for a whole month, and that's why we are so confident in talking about the verification aspect of the technology. We will test the transmission tomorrow, so I do not want to preempt that aspect of saying what level of confidence that I can talk about that. Let's cross the bridge tomorrow once we get there. In terms of transmission, we see what the gaps might be there and try to fix those gaps. But what we know is that the discussions that we've had with the telephone operators is that they have put in sufficient cover. They have provided satellite in places where we don't have network, and so the trials tomorrow will show us where the weaknesses are and what we can do to fill those gaps.
Failure to which, I don't want to sound cynical again, but failure to which you'll revert to the manual system.
I mean, it's there in the law. The law provides for the complementary mechanism to be used. This is not what we would wish to do. We would not want to use it. That's why we've been investing a lot of money and time in ensuring that we don't get to use the complementary mechanism. It's not something that we would want to use at all. Okay, I'll text you before I wind up. Onyango from Kitale, what, I mean, you explained this actually so that in an opinion today, but what, we'll ask this question, says, what are all these extra ballot papers for? I think, Hussein, that's a very good question from one of your readers there. You know, there are two aspects to it. There's one aspect by which the regulations provide for 1% extra ballot to be provided for all positions. I just need to make clear that it's all positions, it's not just the presidential ones. And this is actually a huge difference from what they used to have in 2013, for instance. In 2013, they had 5% more ballot papers provided for in the regulations. So this was a reduction from 5% to 1%. Then that's one aspect of it. So it's in the regulations to provide the 1%. But then there's a second aspect of it whereby the ballot papers, as they're done, they come in booklets of 50. And I know there are people who have asked, why didn't you customize to have maybe where you have a polling station that has 10 people, you would have 40 of them blank. So you only have 10 that have the ballot papers, the names and everything, and 40 of them not done. Those are discussions that we've had with the managers and other people who have printed. It would actually mean, if you are looking at the technology of it all, it would mean customizing plates, printing plates for each polling station, which is 40,883 polling stations, which will probably take you a month or two to be able to do. And so the logistics of it all was to standardize it. But we have explained reasons why you will not have those ballot papers misused. Have provided 6 reasons, which I'm sure some of our readers have been able to see. It's very clear. I mean, unlike 2013, we have ballot papers now that are serialized, very specific to each polling station, that you cannot be able to use in a different polling in a different polling station. Then you have aspects like ballot count, which we are doing every 3 hours to ensure that there is consistency between the number of ballot papers issued and the voter turnout at each time. And in any case, even if you decided to put all those ballot papers, you will not be able to transmit the results. So, I mean, there are various measures that have been put in place to ensure that there is no abuse, that there is no ballot stuffing. And we're very confident that those measures will prove, on election day. Right.
Finally, because of time, we have to wind up. But who now will be in charge of the system? ICT department, that is.
I mean, the ICT department has a director. James Muhati is still the director of the ICT directorate, and there are several other staff that work under him. So we'll see a continuation of that structure.
So James Muhati will step in. I mean, he has been there.
That is his job.
Right, but at the heart of this election, for this election to be successful, KIMS must work.
Yes, absolutely.
So he is the one responsible for that.
I mean, he is the director, and he's the director in charge of the entire system. I think we expect that he's been working hard with his team, putting the team together. It's been a shock to everybody, but I think people have woken up. We would have preferred to be cuddling in bed and crying over all this, but we know that we have an election to run, and our staff have stepped up. They have come, they have picked up from where Chris left, and we are determined to move on and give Kenyans what they deserve. And as many of our staff have been saying all over again, for the sake of Chris, we will do what he wanted to do, to deliver a free, fair and credible election to the Kenyan people.
Right, a tough job ahead for IEBC. Commissioner Roslyn Akombe, thank you so much. We wish you the best.
Thank you.
In your endeavors. Thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Keep talking to us. The hashtag is the big question. On Twitter, you can text us on 22422. What do you think of the preparedness of IEBC? Are they ready for next week's poll? We're back after this break.